Hey everyone, what's going on? Finally getting around to making a video about the death of Gilbert Gottfried. And this death is a really interesting death in relation to a lot of the videos and blog posts that I have made leading up to this year. If you've been following me, I've been talking a lot about this date, August 6th of the year 2022, because that's when Tisha begins. And I even made the cover of my book all about the number 86 for the same exact reason, because I've been following this date, August 6, 2022. And a lot of it stems back to the year 2019, when much of the Gematria truth community and just the truth community in general was following the date August 10th and August 11th, the dates, because that's when Tisha B'Av was held, and it was linked up to the Golden Gate Bridge and a number of other things. And if you go back to 2019, Gilbert Gottfried actually somebody paid him to do like a cameo video where he said to stay off the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11th, 2019, because there'll be destruction and so on, right? So Gilbert Gottfried actually made a video saying to stay off the Golden Gate Bridge in 2019 on Tisha B'Av. And once again, I've been following Tisha B'Av like crazy for this year, and it's all linked up to this connection to 2019. So since I know this, the first thing I did was I just looked up to see how his death compared to the date of the Golden Gate Bridge opening and the date of August 11th and so on. And if you go from the day that he made that cameo video, it was July 11th, 2019, the day that he died to July 11th, it's 2 months and 29 days. And in Gematria, Gilbert Gottfried equals 229, like 2 months, 29 days. And if you look at Gilbert Gottfried's birthday, it was on February 28th, which is 2 months and 29 days before the Golden Gate Bridge anniversary. The number 229, though, it really sticks out to me because what I was talking a lot about back on Tisha B'Av in 2019 that began on August 10th was that this was actually the 227th anniversary of the French monarchy falling. And it was also World Lion Day. And think about Napoleon, the French emperor or whatever. His name actually means Naples lion. And August 10th is World Lion Day. And it's during the time of Leo. And Leo is a lion. And there was other things that were building up to this. Well, I'll explain here in a little bit. But there was a lion theme synced up to France. And it was the 227th anniversary of the French monarchy falling. And if you write out French monarchy in Gematria, it equals 227. And if you write out French Revolution, it equals 227. And it began by an assembly of the Estates General that equals 227. And Napoleon's birthday is the 227th day of the year. And in 2016, we had that Nice, France van attack on the 227th, can't remember what it was, the 227th Bastille Day or something like that. It was all about 227 in France. And Napoleon's birthday is also August 15th, which is the same day that Donald Trump had said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair in a helicopter. And another reason I was watching for the date August 10th, it all had to do with Kanye West and Slipknot was going to be performing for the first time ever at the Iowa State Fair that year on August 10th. Or they did perform for the first time ever, but Slipknot's first member was Paul Gray, who was the pig, and 2019 was the Chinese pig year. That's why the big event on August 11th, it actually had to do with China. There was the Hong Kong riots and so on. And also the next day on August 11th in Zion, Illinois, a fan died at the Slipknot concert. Of course, Zion, Illinois has the ties back to the flat earth and a bunch of stuff, but think about, we were also talking about Israel and how Tisha B'Av is, it's to remember the destruction of the 2 temples in history, and we were talking about the construction of the 3rd temple and how it was linked up You know, and then think about the Golden Gate. The Golden Gate is where the Jews believe that the Messiah will return through. So that's why it was all kind of interrelated. But Slipknot's member, the pig, had died, and it was a Chinese pig year. Something that I really learned from 2019 was also the importance of the Francis Bacon ciphers. And they haven't stopped being important. They keep showing up. And this is why the number 229 is important to France. So Gilbert Gottfried, he died in connection to 229 with the Golden Gate Bridge. And if you use these Francis Bacon ciphers, and like I said, you write out Gilbert Gottfried, his name equals 229, but the word France also equals 229. And right now, it's currently the 229th year of the French Republic that began on 22/9. And it also began 2 months and 29 days before the current president, Emmanuel Macron's birthday. So this number 229 linked up to France, and also World Lion Day that has the connection to Napoleon, whose name means Naples lion. And what's even more interesting about all of this is that the night before Gilbert Gottfried died, I went to the casino, and I actually won. Well, after taxes, I didn't really win that much, but I won $1,250 on a slot machine, and I won it by getting all lions, right? It was like, what are the odds? It was all lions on the screen. And when I got home later that night, I got on Facebook just before I went to bed, and I saw this. There was an advertisement for a band that's going to be playing at the waiting room, and I saw this guy, and I was like, that's hilarious. He looks like Gilbert Gottfried's son or something, right? And I didn't think much of it. I was just like, he just looks like Gilbert Gottfried to me, doesn't he? Maybe that's just me, but this guy, it looks a lot like Gilbert Gottfried. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I found out that Gilbert Gottfried had died. And I thought, what are the odds? Gilbert Gottfried had died after I went on this lion machine, and I see this guy who looks like Gilbert Gottfried. And then Gilbert Gottfried is synced up to the Tisha narrative and the Golden Gate Bridge. And that video he made about staying off the Golden Gate Bridge was 2 months and 29 days. The date that he died was 2 months and 29 days before that. And his birthday is 2 months, 29 days before the anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge. And his name equals 229. He also made that video 45 days after the anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge. And he died 45 days before the anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge. And if you write out Golden Gate, it equals 45. And if you write out Bridge, it equals 45. And also, if you go from August 11th, that day that he was saying to watch out for, we'll just go from August 11th to the day that he died. It just so happens to be 8 months and 1 day. And if you write out Golden Gate, or Golden Gate Bridge, it equals 81, front way and back way. So it's absolutely connected to the Golden Gate Bridge. Even further, if you go from the day he died to August 11th this year, it is a span of 122 days. And if you write out San Francisco, it equals 122. And it's on the 122nd meridian, and Golden State equals 122, and Pope Francis equals 122. Pope Francis and San Francisco, both named after St. Francis of Assisi, the guy who received the first stigmata, and so on. And there's also been a lot of that train wreck symbolism that was going on. And that lion, the machine that I won on at the casino, it was actually a train machine, but I got all lions on it, if that makes sense. So there was actually a machine where the bonus game is trains, but the wild is a lion. So it's kind of interesting. And, I've been talking about this connection to the train wreck symbolism and so on. And I was even following the date 310 this year, right? Because of the train symbolism. And remember, there was a train wreck with the word tiger on it, like 19 miles away from where I live. I've never even heard of a train wreck in this area in my entire life, and it had the word tiger on it. And I pointed out how I had synchronicity with the trade that said tiger on it while I was at work on August 6th, the same day that I released my book, August 6th, 2021. So I know, and right now it's the Chinese Tiger Year, and think about tigers and lions and, World Lion Day was actually created by Carol Baskin's company, from Tiger King. And it was on August 10th. And that's why earlier this year we had Justin Tucker break Matt Prater's record. And Matt Prater was born on World Lion Day, and he's the former Detroit Lion and so on. And then Justin Tucker beat the record over the Detroit Lions. And, there's a whole lot going on with this narrative. And a lot of it also does stem back to Batman and so on. Napoleon was born on the 227th day, which was also the same day that Donald Trump said he was Batman in a helicopter at the Iowa State Fair, which was in 2015, it was on Ben Affleck's birthday. And Ben Affleck went on to be the Batman in the 2016 movie Batman vs. Superman. And the guy who played Superman, he just so happened to be born on the same day that Napoleon died in history, 5/5, which is the same day the French Revolution began. So you had the guy who was Superman in that movie, he was born on the same day Napoleon died, and Ben Affleck was born on the same day as, that Napoleon was born in history. And, even further, Ben Affleck, it's kind of funny, just thinking about Ben Affleck and then Gilbert Gottfried being the Affleck duck. And I'll explain that in a minute, because in 2019, another big thing with this Lion narrative was that the Disney released them live action movies, The Lion King and also Aladdin. And Gilbert Gottfried just so happens to be the bird, right? The Jafar's bird in the movie Aladdin. And the guy who voices Aladdin is Steve on Full House. His name's Scott Wenger. It's just a funny name to me, Scott Wenger, but let me look this guy up really quick. This is the guy, I know him a lot from Full House. I know him more from Full House, but he is also the voice of Aladdin on the cartoon Aladdin. And I recently had this weird synchronicity to go back and look up the 88th episode look up an episode of Fuller House that's connected to this other narrative. Maybe I'll explain it better in a bit, but moral of the story is that when I went back and looked up this episode, they're playing a trivia game, and his clue is the Affleck duck, and then he gets the answer Ben Affleck. So, he's the voice of Aladdin, and then you got, Gilbert Gottfried, who's also the voice of a character in the movie Aladdin, and then we just had the Will Smith slap, right? Think about Will Smith and the slap, and Will Smith in the live-action Aladdin was actually the genie. And then you think about the movie that has the genie in it, the cartoon one, and the genie was played by Robin Williams, and Robin Williams died on August 11th, of all days, And even more, Robin Williams got his comedy start in San Francisco. If you look up Robin Williams, his comedy career began in San Francisco. And think about the TV show Full House. Literally in the theme song, they're driving across the Golden Gate Bridge because the show is set in, San Francisco. And then think about how Bob Saget died earlier this year. Bob Saget, the dad on Full House, connected to San Francisco. We also just had the death of the Ohio State football player, Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins, he died in connection to a bunch of stuff with us, because there's so much to explain. But he died on April 9th, which is the anniversary of the football player from New Orleans named Will Smith. And he died in 2016 on April 9th. And it was all linked up to, there's just so much. But think about the movie Focus with Will Smith. It's all about New Orleans and a whole bunch more. And then the Fresh Prince, and this is the day that Prince Philip died, and the Will Smith football player, he was born in Queens, New York, and a whole lot more. Maybe I'll come back to that in a little bit, but Dwayne Haskins, when you look him up, it says that his nickname was actually Simba, like the Lion King, right? He went by the nickname Simba from the Lion King, right? What are the odds that this guy dies? He goes by the nickname Simba, and then we get Gilbert Gottfried, who I'm telling you is synced up to the Lion narrative. And then we had that Lion King movie, So we had the Aladdin movie come out, but we also had the Lion King 2019 film that came out just before Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av was held during Leo, the astrological sign of Leo, which is a lion, which is also when Obama was born, August 4th. He was a Leo. And remember at the White House Correspondents' Dinner where he joked about Donald Trump being the president, he also said he was the Lion King, right? So, just, there's a lot of interesting things here. Even the voice of Simba in the Lion King live action film, the adult Simba, is Donald Glover, and his birthday is the same as Will Smith's birthday. But I'll come back to this. What else I was going to talk about earlier when I was saying I was watching the date 310 this year because of my uncle who died on the same day as the Philadelphia train wreck and, a whole bunch more. But if you go back and read my old blog posts, I realized in 2019 I realized that the number I was supposed to see with him was the number 310. And then I kept having these synchronicities with Bon Jovi that ended up involving him. And I knew that the date 310 was probably important because in 2019, I was watching the date 310 as well, synced up to this Buffy the Vampire Slayer narrative, because there was a story about Buffy the Vampire Slayer wearing lingerie the same day there was a 310-mile dust storm in Australia back in November of 2018. And I noticed that like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and gematria equaled 310. And the TV show, the first time it aired was on the date 310. And there was a whole bunch of other things that are linked to this, but 3 months and 10 days after my blog post, Luke Perry, the actor, died, and Luke Perry was Buffy's boyfriend in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then I later learned that her name is Buffy Summers, and in the Francis Bacon ciphers, Buffy Summers equals 310. And to further that there was a connection to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, later that year at the Garlic Festival shooting, right around that same time, think about garlic and vampires, the main vampire in the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the actor Rutger Hauer, had died. And I was also following Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all to do with the date 5/16, because there was a connection to the Big Bang Theory, and the Big Bang Theory was actually coming to an end. They weren't going to be filming any more Big Bang Theories, and I kept noticing this pattern with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And go figure, Sarah Michelle Gellar, the actress who plays Buffy in the TV show, she was actually the running joke on that episode and was in the episode, the very final ever episode of The Big Bang Theory. I mean, what are the odds that she would be in that episode on 5/16, a day that I was watching for? But the reason that this is important is because the date May 16th has the connection to 229. Just pointing this out really quick. If my computer will load. It's the day leaving 229 days in the year. So it's an interesting, it's a very interesting day. I can't remember either. Hold on. I want to look and see how close it is to August 6th. May 16th. It's 82 days, but the Golden Gate Bridge anniversary, I think, is 80. It's 2 months and 10 days, like San Francisco, to August 6th. It'll be the 85th anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge this year. So possibly it's connected to the 86th anniversary that comes after August 6, 2022 as well, But also, if you go back to the date 310, another thing that happened on the date 310 that was really big, and the reason I was watching, I was watching for the date 310, just like how I was watching for the date 310 this year. But there was the Ethiopian airline crash, and it crashed it crashed in Kenya. And Kenya is actually where the Lion King is actually, the setting is based. It's based on Hell's Gate National Park or Forest or whatever it is in Kenya. So we had this Ethiopian airline crash in Kenya. And Ethiopia has a whole lot of ties because the Los Angeles Rams had lost in the Super Bowl that year. And Moses was in the tribe of Levi. And, think of San Francisco has Levi's Stadium, but Moses is important because he brought in the age of Aries, right? And Aries is the ram. And then we had the Rams who were in the Super Bowl that year. And Ethiopia is actually said to be where the Ark of the Covenant that holds the Ten Commandments is held. Think about Moses and the Ten Commandments. And then a couple of weeks after this Ethiopian airline crash, we got the death of Nipsey Hussle. And his real name is like Ermias or Ermias, which is an Ethiopian name. He had the ties to Ethiopia. And I talked about a whole bunch of stuff with all this, but in Ethiopia, it has a lot to do with the Rastafariism or Rastafari, right? And that's, a religion based around, or I don't know if it's a religion or whatever it is, but, just think about Rastafari and think about Haile Selassie, who is the leader of Ethiopia, and the people who believe in Rastafari believe that he was the second coming of Jesus Christ, and he was the lion of the tribe of Judah. So there was all of this stuff that was synced up to the lion stuff, and then I was following all this stuff with Tisha Bob, and Bobby had pointed out to me that it was World Lion Day on August 10th, and then later I discovered how Napoleon means Naples lion, and it was during the time of Leo, and, not even a month after Tisha B'Av in 2019, we also got the flooding in Hell's Gate Park or whatever in Kenya, right, where the Lion King is based off of. And all of this lion symbolism is the reason why I knew that the Chinese Tiger Year was also important. And we're currently in the Chinese Tiger Year. But remember when coronavirus came, that's when Tiger King came out. And then it was all synced up to the number 201. And then we had the Detroit Tiger guy, Al Kaline, die. And then we had Pink with her son, Jameson Moonhart, wearing the tiger jacket on Ellen. And the first animal to get coronavirus was a tiger and all kinds of stuff, right? So I knew there was a relationship. And what was interesting about 2020 was that International Tiger Day just so happened to fall on the exact same day as Tisha B'Av in 2020. So once again, I knew that 2020 was important to the same symbolism because it was going to be the year of the tiger, right? So hopefully that makes sense, but 2019, a lot to do with World Lion Day and this lion symbolism. But I knew that it was important once we, had Tiger King and so on. And I saw that International Tiger Day fell on the same day as Tisha B'Av. So we knew the Tiger Year was going to be an important year to pay attention to with this same connection. And also another reason August 6th was so important was because if you go back to 2018, before all of this other symbolism came up, a lot of the things that were building up to this thinking this date was important there was all kinds of things that happened in 2018 on the date August 6th. Like Alex Jones got kicked off of social media and Pink canceled her concert. And that was the day, I think Goldberg, the goalie, was in the news for getting arrested. And I was following this major theme, and there was just so many things going on with the date August 6th that year. And that's another reason why I think that August 6th being Tisha B'Av this year, there's just something important to this date. And, where there's something that's going to be learned, right? When the script was flipped in 2016, a major thing that we learned was reverse gematria right around that same time. And then in 2019, what I really learned was the Francis Bacon ciphers and how important they were. And I feel like August 6th is going to be that same thing. It's going to be there's going to be an evolutionary step within the understanding of gematria within the community, hopefully. Or that's what, or at least for me, personally, but anyway, let's go back to some of these posts I made with Gilbert Gottfried. And, think about Tisha B'Av too, right? Tisha B'Av is to remember the destruction of the two temples in history that were both destroyed on the 9th day of the 11th month of the Hebrew civil calendar. And in Jewish gematria, if you write out Tisha B'Av, it equals 911. And think about the two towers that fell on 9/11, right? And Gilbert Gottfried's actually famous, or, not fully famous for it, but he made jokes about 9/11 right after 9/11 happened. And he also made a joke about the Japanese tsunami on the date 3/11. And of course, 3/11 wasn't that the day they had the tribute and light or whatever to the new One World Trade Center and so on, right? So it has this connection back to the World Trade Center and all that on 9/11. And another movie that Gilbert Gottfried's really famous for is a movie called Problem Child that has John Ritter in it, and John Ritter died on the date September 11th. And there's all kinds of other interesting things with it. Gilbert Gottfried, his initials are also GG. Think about Golden Gate, Gilbert Gottfried. Just absolute, just a plethora of connections. Let's see here. It's talking about winning at the casino and so on. Oh, and I connected it more to France. So France equals 115. And Gilbert died 1 month and 15 days after his birthday. And he died 1 month and 15 days before the Golden Gate Bridge anniversary. And the Golden Gate Bridge anniversary is 1 month and 15 days before the day that he made the video saying to watch out for the Golden Gate Bridge, right? And France equals 115 in the regular ciphers. And I was actually watching for the Brooklyn Nets game that same night that he died because, he's from Brooklyn and so on. And there was also, wasn't there the Brooklyn train attack or whatever it was that same day? The same day that he died, there was the Brooklyn train attack. And then he was from Brooklyn. And then the Brooklyn Nets were playing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the play-in game that night. And believe it or not, the Brooklyn Nets, they scored 115 points. And in gematria, Francis Bacon, Nets equal 115. Bobby Simpson pointed out to me that the same day that Gilbert Gottfried died, there was a important Neptune-Jupiter conjunction, like in astrology. And it was the first time in 166 years that this happened, So, pretty significant. Like, it won't happen again, I don't think. Or maybe it will. I'm not sure when it will, but it's a rare alignment and it hasn't happened since 1856. So, the same day that he dies is that. Well, if you go back to my blog post just a few days before he died, I was actually blogging about Neptune and how I have all these connections to Neptune, and also how the guy who founded Neptune, his middle name is actually Gottfried, right? Let's see if I can find it here. Can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. This guy. Johann Gottfried Gall, or however you say his name. It's interesting, It's just interesting he has the middle name of Gottfried. He's the guy who discovered Neptune. And then Gilbert Gottfried dies on the day of a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that hasn't happened for 166 years. Neptune was also discovered on 9/23, that big day in 2015 with Pope Francis. Think about Pope Francis and how Pope Francis's visit to the United States actually began on 9/22 or 22/9, the anniversary of the French Republic, and it was all linked up to the Paris, France ISIS attack that happened later that year. And there's think about Bob Saget too. He was from Philadelphia. He's in the TV show about San Francisco. For years, we've been talking about this connection to Philadelphia and San Francisco, and that like the Golden State Warriors used to be the Philadelphia Warriors, and I think at one time the Liberty Bell was even supposed to be in San Francisco or something like that. There was all these connections, and Pope Francis has that connection to San Francisco, and he also finished his trip in Philadelphia just before he left. So there's just been, it's an interesting thing to think about, and thinking about earthquakes, and I've blogged a lot about Philadelphia and earthquakes since 2015 because it had a lot to do with Tisha B'Av, right? Because we had Roddy Piper die, right? The wrestler Roddy Piper, and then the next day Ronda Rousey had won her fight in 34 seconds, and she took on the name Rowdy Ronda Rousey. And then we got that the newspaper shooting at Bridgewater, or it was the news reporter shooting at the Bridgewater Plaza. And when you looked at the screen, it looked like it said Franklin Bridge, which is in Philadelphia. And I was talking all about like a bunch of stuff with Hulk Hogan around the same time too. And Hulk Hogan actually got his revenge against the wrestler Earthquake in Philadelphia at the Spectrum. And I started looking at the buildings in Philadelphia because a little bit later that year, because I was watching the movie Happy Gilmore, and he learns how to putt on the Earthquake golf course, and the building that falls over, it looks like the Comcast Center in Philadelphia has a black cube on the top, and a black cube supposedly represents the New Jerusalem, and the New Jerusalem is where the third temple is supposed to be built, right? And Hulk Hogan, his birthday just so happens to be August 11th, right? That day with Tisha B'Av. And the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, her birthday also August 11th. So there's some interesting parallels between Philadelphia and San Francisco and how it links up to earthquake symbolism. And I've also been following Hulk Hogan this year because, Rocky is synced up to this narrative with France because Sylvester Stallone was actually in Nice, France, the same day as that Nice, France van attack in whatever year it was, 2016 or 15. And they showed him looking like the Statue of Liberty and a bunch of stuff. But, think about how Rocky has Eye of the Tiger, and it's the year of the tiger. And that song actually began on Rocky, whatever the movie Rocky, was it 3 that Hulk Hogan was in? That's when they started using that theme song, Eye of the Tiger. And Eye of the Tiger equals 76, and Sylvester Stallone is born on 7/6, and he's going to turn 76 years old this year. And the word tiger equals 76, so. It's also, Roddy Piper was in that movie called They Live, and right now we're in the 33rd anniversary of that movie coming out. So there's a bunch of interesting connections to Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, and, Sylvester Stallone and the Year of the Tiger, which is another reason why I think that date's important. Skip over here, but Johnny Depp's also been recently in the news, and I don't know, I'm just wondering, Gilbert Grape. He's in that movie Gilbert Grape. Will Smith slaps Chris Rock. Will Smith the genie in Aladdin. Gilbert Yago in Aladdin. Robin Williams died on August 11th. Starts his career in San Francisco. It's just absolutely all linked up here. Let's see here. And then, to boot, it's even connected to Full House even more because, Gilbert Gottfried had shared this picture of him and Bob Saget and Louis Anderson after they died and so on. And, he had this connection. And Louis Anderson's actually from St. Paul, Minnesota. And in relation to bridge symbolism, remember that a famous bridge that collapsed was in Minneapolis, Minnesota on August 1st, 2007, 8/1, right? Think about Golden Gate Bridge equaling 81. And that bridge was, it took them 81 minutes to transport over to the hospital, and it fell like 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 meters long. And it was all about 81 on August 1st. And it was, synced up to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl in 2018, too, because that was all about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee and so on, right? And the flag was sewn at 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia. And Francis Scott Key, the guy who wrote the national anthem, though, his birthday is actually August 1st, 8/1, and a whole lot more. But, just that other connection to Philadelphia again. But anyway, in relation to the lion symbolism, I watched Zenith of the Alpha's video, And he was talking about how, there was a story about how Gilbert Gottfried's final Instagram post was about Chris Rock and the slap with Chris Rock. And Zenith pointed out how Detroit Lions in this keypad cipher, the one that he, invented or, just pointed it out. He figured it out and it makes a lot of sense, the way we use numbers on the phone and so on. And if you do that cipher, Detroit Lions equals 67. And Chris Rock and Gilbert Gottfried are actually in the movie Beverly Hills Cop 2 with Eddie Murphy. And Eddie Murphy is actually wearing a Detroit Lions coat when he talks to Gilbert Gottfried in the movie, and he has the number 67 on that coat. So he's wearing a Detroit Lions coat with the number 67, and in the keypad cipher, Detroit Lions equals 67. And Gilbert Gottfried died at the age of 67, and his character in the movie Aladdin is Iago, who in Jewish gematria equals 67. And he pointed out that Will Smith and Robin Williams, who are both the genie in Aladdin, their birthdays were 67 days apart. And I don't know if he pointed this out, but I just pointed out Beverly Hills equals 67, and the word cop equals 67. And then you start really thinking about it. You think about the year 2019, and the number 19 is the 67th prime, or the 19th prime number is 67, right? So there's definitely, a relationship there. Bob Saget died on January 9th, 1/9, right? 1/9. Golden Gate Bridge. I had a lot of stuff going on in 2019 with Philadelphia too. YouTube restricted one of my old Allen Iverson videos about a false flag in Philadelphia, and they restricted it on the 65th day of the year, and then I can't remember it all. It was the same day that Philadelphia 76ers played their 65th game of the season, and the Bulls beat them by a buzzer beater, or a game-winning shot by Zach LaVine, whose name equals 65. It was their 65th game of the season on the 65th day of the year, and Philadelphia equals 65, and it was founded on the day leaving 65 days in the year, and they later completely removed my video on the date 6/5 even, right? Which was the 156th day of the year, and the word false flag equals 156, and so on. And I just pointed out there's a bunch of interesting things, like I even put my video out, the one that they restricted, I put it out like 6 months and 5 days after Allen Iverson's birthday. And I had no idea that I even did that. It was an old video and so on. And I pointed out, like, Allen Iverson, his nickname's AI, right? And A is the first letter, I the ninth, AI, and it was in the year 19. And I can't even remember it all. A whole bunch of 19, though, that went along with it. I put that video out, I think, on the day leaving 19 days in the year even. And I can't remember. I have to go back and look. But it had a lot to do with the numbers 19 and also the number 65. Just thinking about, Philadelphia again, though, and the connection to San Francisco and Bob Saget being from Philadelphia. But then I pointed out the voice of Aladdin, right? And I showed this earlier, but the voice of Aladdin is also the same guy who plays DJ's boyfriend on Full House. And his name equals 67. And he also became a full-time cast member on season 6 and season 7. So 67. And I pointed out how Gilbert Gottfried's, when you looked up Gilbert Gottfried, it said that he was on Wife Swap, and he swapped wives with Alan Thicke. And that was interesting because if you look at my old blog posts, and I've been recently talking about this theme with Cameron, and it's too much to go into, but I don't know, there's something with Kirk Cameron, I think. But if you go back to this old post that involved that Cameron symbolism, that a whole nother theme for it sort of it fits in here, but it's too much. I don't want to like really, really get off topic. Like it's on topic, but it's too confusing to like re-explain. But moral of the story is I saw that he switched that, so I was like, oh, that's interesting, because that's important to that Cameron theme I've been following. And when you go and look through this, I talked about how he was on this episode of Fuller House and how it was showing us the Los Angeles Rams, because this kid was wearing this football jersey that looks like the Los Angeles Rams, and camera bro's going here, but if you look at this post here, like there's a thing where he says the Hindus call this Kismet, and I didn't know what that meant, so it's fate basically. And back in the day, I went and I looked that up, and it's the only time I've ever even blogged about this on here. And I was watching this movie on Netflix the other night called Choose or Die, because it was the first thing that it showed to watch it. It was like the trending thing. And I noticed that I kept seeing the word Kismet in the background a whole bunch. I was like, that has to be connected to that Alan Thicke post, right? And I went back and I rewatched that episode of Fuller House, and it just so happens that they're playing this trivia game when he says the Kismet line, and I think just before or after, Steve is on there, and the question is, the clue is the Affleck duck, and he says Ben Affleck, right? So once again, Gilbert Gottfried was known for being the Affleck duck, Affleck or whatever, so there's something important to this guy, there's something. It's weird that that would even be on that episode, it's the only episode I think I've even watched of Fuller House, but there's something important to why he's the voice. But he's on, he's on Full House and Fuller House, and just thinking about the San Francisco connection. Plus the Rams just won the Super Bowl. The Rams were in the Super Bowl in 2019. "2019 was the year of the college admissions scandal with Lori Loughlin." Uncle Jesse, too, I've talked about him, how his middle name is actually Hermes, or his real name on the show is actually Hermes. It's not Jesse Katsopoulos, it's actually Hermes Katsopoulos. You find that out on one of the episodes when his mom comes and visits or whatever. But, just thinking about Hermes Trismegistus, and the date 5/23 is important to that, or I think it is. It might be 5/22. But also Gilbert Gottfried, in relation to the temples and so on, his middle name is Jeremy, which is the shortened version of Jeremiah. And in 2019, a big thing I was talking about with the same symbolism was that name in the book of Jeremiah that mentions the destruction of Jerusalem, hence the rebuilding of the third temple, right? So, I don't know, it seems interesting that his middle name would be Jeremy. Jeremiah has the ties to the destruction of Jerusalem. Also, Ethiopia, in relation to Haile Selassie and so on, Haile Selassie actually died on August 27th. And, just trying to think here. He died on August 27th, and Gilbert Gottfried actually died on Charlie Murphy's birthday, right? Or the same day that Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, had died. And there's a number of interesting things with that, but I have an uncle named Eddie Murphy as well, and his birthday is August 27th, so I just feel like that's connected to him somehow, Eddie Murphy, and then, Gilbert Gottfried dies on Charlie Murphy's birthday. Talked about my Uncle Eddie before, because he's in Hustler. He's in like the April 2011 issue. He won some contest and got to go and be on Hustler and he went to the same bunny ranch that like Lamar Odom went to, I think it was, and yeah, he doesn't even care. Like he'll tell you the story over and over. Like his life is fulfilled after that trip. But it just makes me wonder. There's something important, because I've talked about the connection to my Uncle Eddie and my Uncle Fred, or Ed and Fred. Just think about Ed and Fred. But my Uncle Fred His birthday is August 10th, which is World Lion Day. So, I don't know. Something interesting there with that, though. Plus, too, in regards to like Francis Bacon, the Francis Bacon ciphers, pointed out how, lots of people believe that Francis Bacon and William Shakespeare are actually the same person. And it's just interesting because if you look up the Lion King is actually partially based on Hamlet, which is, the William Shakespeare's Hamlet. And Iago actually comes from Othello, which was another Shakespeare play. So Francis Bacon and so on. Francis Bacon also died on 4/9, the same day as Dwayne Haskins and the Will Smith football player. That's why that's literally why the first person to get coronavirus, the first man to get it, was named William Shakespeare. To get the vaccine, I mean. His name was William Shakespeare because it was all linked up to that. Like, if you looked at the Francis Bacon ciphers, what was it? Margaret Keenan was the first lady to get it. Margaret Keenan equaled 264. And Queen Elizabeth got her vaccine span of 264 days after her birthday. And, what is it? The word vaccine equals 264. And I think Seattle, maybe Washington equals 264. Yeah, I mean, where it began in the United States and a whole lot more, So the Francis Bacon ciphers are absolutely stupidly important. I even showed how I messed up gematria in that video and how NASCAR should actually be spelled with all capital letters. And I was spelling COVID like this, and COVID technically is actually like this, all capital letters, like 212, like Seattle, Washington, and so on. But I realized that I was doing this, and I went back to find my old post of when I was doing that, and I highlighted the word Coventry in that for some reason. I don't know why I did, but I highlighted the word Coventry in the post where I realized that I was doing NASCAR in not all capital letters, and it should have been. And of course, that's where the lady that got the first vaccine was from. And of course, that's, ties to William Shakespeare and so on. It was Coventry, so I don't know. Just trying to prove a point that these Francis Bacon ciphers we're supposed to be paying attention to them, Aladdin came out the same day that Paul Gray died, the Slipknot guy who was the pig. Or the same, not the same actual date, but the same day. Think about, France is bacon. Think about bacon and money. Chinese pig ear, pig and bacon. Talked all about this with Squid Game. How it's synced up to Pope Francis and the stock market and Kamala Harris. But I'm just going to leave it there. There's some other things that I want to talk about, but they're not necessarily related to Gilbert Gottfried, but I guess the point is that there's something important to Gilbert Gottfried dying and how it's related to the Golden Gate Bridge and the Tisha B'Av symbolism that we've followed. And once again, there's something important to Tisha B'Av this year that we need to pay attention to. I really think we're going to learn a new cipher, and I really think it's important to the Fibonacci sequence and the ciphers and also the triangular numbers. All to do with the, Zenith, what Zenith pointed out to me right after I put my book out and so on, and how they were all related. And it's really funny because in the book I actually say that I'm not going to talk about the Fibonacci numbers or the triangular numbers very much because I haven't studied them enough and so on. And then I end up putting out the book like all synced up to the triangular numbers and the Fibonacci sequence, and I didn't even know I did it, so I know that is something very important that I need to learn more about, And I also think prime numbers. There's something more with prime numbers. Maybe the prime cipher. It's definitely something to pay attention to because I feel like they're priming, the truth community for something new. I don't know how to explain it, but that's why Primus was in Oklahoma City when Zach first got there and so on. That's why Primus was playing, because they're priming us. And I should make a video. Maybe tomorrow night I'll make a video on this, but because tomorrow is the 4/19 date and so on. But it was Kismet. You know what I'm saying? It was fate. Whatever. Like, if we weren't... It seems that they kind of manipulated the thought. They influenced the thought of creating this Oklahoma City rally and so on by putting that Texas synagogue story in the news. Reminding us of the Waco siege and so on. And then the Waco siege is connected to the Oklahoma City bombing. And then they gave us that story about the guy from the Oklahoma City bombing dying. And then Sean McVay, Zach wants to, that like primed his voice. It influenced him to want to do a rally there, right? So it seems that, if that's the cabal doing it, it seems they influenced him to have this idea, and people need to pay attention to these type of things. Or it's just fate, it's just what was supposed to happen, but regardless, all of Zach going to this OKC rally and the date 4/19 is just absolutely stupidly synced up. It's stupidly synced up that Primus was the opening band there. It was all about 4/19 and even if you think about it, Sean McVay goes on to win the Super Bowl, right? Sean McVay, and then they have that story about how his father was named Tim McVay, Timothy McVay, and Tim McVay. Right after the Oklahoma City rally, and that they had the Rams. I was talking about the Rams possibly being in the Super Bowl well before any of the OKC stuff was even thought of or going on, right? So that it was already mapped out for the Rams to go and win the Super Bowl. It had nothing to do with the OKC rally. But yet the OKC rally happens after Tim McVay's son wins the Super Bowl. And, Zach's also following the Cincinnati Bengals, and his birthday is 4 months and 19 days before Joe Burrow's birthday, and Cincinnati Bengals equal 419. And, it's just so stupid. It's like it was all perfectly mapped out and planned, but it doesn't mean that he did it on purpose, but I feel like he was either influenced, because that's how magic kind of works, and they know how to influence and rule over the minds of even the truth seekers, right? Because they created the truth community. That's why they put out movies that's why they allowed movies like Zeitgeist to be out. That's why they let you know that Abraham Lincoln thought everything was the Jesuits. That's why they made 9/11 so obvious. Because they were creating a truth community, That's why they had Tim Russert, say 322, where they let that clip still be around, Skull and Bones, what can you say about that or whatever, 322, and then you find out Tim Russert's name equals 322 in the Francis Bacon ciphers, and Skull and Bones equals 201 in the Francis Bacon ciphers, and he dies on the day leaving 201 days in the year, and, it's because they did that on purpose. They wanted people to see that, That's why they have guys like Alex Jones, and I even think I don't know. I don't want to call people out, but I think Bill Cooper and even Jordan Maxwell and people like that, I think that they were kind of, whether they knew it or not, I feel like they were being used to create this culture of conspiracy that, whatever's going on, they wanted it to happen, Whether it was the cabal that actually did create this conspiracy culture or it was just all meant to be, I don't know, but regardless, I know that it was supposed to happen by some means, It's very obvious that it's purposeful because they could have easily not let the movie Zeitgeist get out. They could easily shut down my channel or Zach's channel or anything at any moment, But they don't. They always let it come back once you get deleted. which really just adds legitimacy to it as well when you think about it. Everyone wants to say, oh, look, they deleted me a million times. But, it also adds legitimacy to when you say that all the time. Maybe they're doing that on purpose because they want people to know what you're saying. You understand what I'm saying? Because, I don't know, because they know how to manipulate you still the same. You think you know everything, but you really don't know anything. So, just something to think about, But who knows? I don't know everything either, but from my perspective and the way I keep seeing things, it just seems that way. That we're being influenced and controlled, and a lot of people don't even realize that. So, but whatever, I better go to bed. So, have a good one. We'll see what goes on here. But, you know what? Once again, these next posts that I'm talking about, they're all about August 6th. There's just something important to that day. So, we'll see. But have a good one. Peace.